What I discovered about you today changed everything. And suddenly, every lie I ever told myself about you shattered. I finally saw the truth you've been hiding behind those trembling eyes. Now my soul won't stop whispering that you were the one all along. What I discovered about you today changed everything. I didn't realize how deeply your silence could cut me open. You've been fighting battles I never even saw, carrying storms alone. And now my heart bows to the warrior you never admitted you were. What I discovered about you today changed everything. It hit me how much you've been pretending you're unbothered. You've been suffocating under love you refuse to confess. And my spirit aches because you still don't know you're safe with me. What I discovered about you today changed everything. I finally caught the truth slipping through your smile. You've been hurting more than you'll ever admit out loud, and now your pain feels like a sacred wound my soul is meant to heal. What I discovered about you today changed everything. I didn't know jealousy lived in the corners of your heartbeat. You've been watching me drift away while silently breaking. And now I see the love you never had the courage to claim. What I discovered about you today changed everything. I felt the tremble in your voice when you said you were fine. You've been carrying memories that still bleed when touched, and all I want is to hold the version of you that still cries alone. What I discovered about you today changed everything. You weren't ignoring me. You were fighting yourself. You've been trying to unlove me just to stop hurting. But destiny has its hands all over us, refusing to let go. What I discovered about you today changed everything. I saw how you look away only when you're telling the truth. Your soul confessed long before your mouth ever could. And now I'm haunted by the love you keep locked behind your ribs. What I discovered about you today changed everything. You've been pretending you don't care, but your eyes betrayed you. They shook like someone terrified of losing what they worship, and I felt the universe pull us closer, breath by trembling breath. What I discovered about you today changed everything. You've been waiting for me to choose you without asking. You hide your longing so deeply, it almost feels holy. And now I can't escape the gravity of what your heart whispered. What I discovered about you today changed everything. You didn't move on. You just learned how to hide your wounds. Your heart still stumbles every time your name meets mine. And suddenly, the air between us felt like unfinished destiny. What I discovered about you today changed everything. Behind your calm smile lived a storm shaped like my name. You've been breaking quietly, hoping I'd hear the cracks. And now I'm drowning in the truth you never meant for me to find. What I discovered about you today changed everything. You've been rehearsing letting me go, but failing every time. Your soul still reaches for me even when your hands don't. And I finally felt the weight of a love you never asked for. What I discovered about you today changed everything. You never hated me. You hated how much you needed me. You've been choking on words you refused to speak, and now the silence between us feels like a confession. What I discovered about you today changed everything. You weren't cold. You were protecting a heart that still beats for me. You've built walls from fear, not from indifference, and now I hear your love echoing through every brick. What I discovered about you today changed everything. You've been pretending you're healed, but your eyes gave you away. You still flinch at memories that carry my shadow. And suddenly, I realized you never wanted to lose me, only yourself. What I discovered about you today changed everything. I saw the truth you tried to bury beneath your strength. You're exhausted from holding back the love that terrifies you, and my soul recognized yours in that trembling silence. What I discovered about you today changed everything. You weren't avoiding me. You were drowning in what you feel. You've been terrified of choosing a love that could break you. And now I understand why your heart shakes when I say your name. What I discovered about you today changed everything. You've been writing me into every version of your future. You hide it behind sarcasm and distance, but I feel it. And now my spirit can't stop reaching for yours. What I discovered about you today changed everything. Your anger wasn't anger. It was heartbreak in disguise. You've been aching for something you're too afraid to touch. And suddenly, your silence became the loudest "I love you." What I discovered about you today changed everything. You didn't push me away. You pushed me deeper into your soul. Your fear only proved how much I mattered, and fate felt louder than both of us. What I discovered about you today changed everything. You weren't confused about me. You were terrified of clarity. Your heart already chose, but your mind is still catching up. And now the truth glows between us like a quiet flame. What I discovered about you today changed everything. You've been praying for me without knowing I felt it. Your spirit has been calling mine for far too long. And destiny finally let me hear you. What I discovered about you today changed everything. Every time you avoided my eyes, you were hiding devotion. You love in silence, fiercely and painfully. And now that I've seen it, I can't unfeel it. What I discovered about you today changed everything. You weren't afraid of love. You were afraid of losing me. You've been holding your breath since the day we met, and my heart finally exhaled for both of us. What I discovered about you today changed everything. The moment you looked at me, your soul slipped its truth. You've loved me longer than you'll ever admit, and the universe trembled with the weight of it. What I discovered about you today changed everything. You've been punishing yourself for feelings you can't control. Your heart trembles like it's begging to be understood. And I finally see the love you're terrified to claim. What I discovered about you today changed everything. Your quietness wasn't indifference. It was longing. You've been craving closeness but fearing the fall. And now I feel the gravity of everything you never said. What I discovered about you today changed everything. You don't hate me. You hate how deeply you feel me. Your emotions burn too loudly inside your ribs. And now I understand why you run. What I discovered about you today changed everything. You still remember the details you pretend to forget. Your soul clings to memories your lips deny. And I realized I never left your heart. Not once. What I discovered about you today changed everything. The way you hesitated revealed everything your silence hid. You've been protecting a love you consider dangerous, and I finally felt its fire. What I discovered about you today changed everything. You've been drowning in a love you pretended not to feel. Your heart shakes every time I walk away, and my spirit aches for the truth you run from. What I discovered about you today changed everything. You thought hiding your heart made you stronger. But I saw the softness you guard like a secret treasure, and now I know I was meant to unlock it. What I discovered about you today changed everything. Your anger cracked open into pure vulnerability. You're terrified of losing something you never even had. And now I see myself in your fear. What I discovered about you today changed everything. You've been hurting in silence, pretending you're untouchable. But your soul whispered the truth in a trembling breath. And I swear I felt the universe kneel beside you. What I discovered about you today changed everything. Your love isn't loud. It's trembling, fragile, sacred. You adore me in ways you'll never say, and now I'm haunted by every unsaid word. What I discovered about you today changed everything. You've been fighting fate with every heartbeat. Your fear is the only thing louder than your love, and destiny refuses to let you hide anymore. What I discovered about you today changed everything. Your eyes confessed before your voice ever could. You've been breaking for me in silence, and now I finally understand the weight you carry. What I discovered about you today changed everything. You didn't let go. You paused, hoping I'd return. You've been waiting in a way that feels eternal, and now my chest aches with the truth. What I discovered about you today changed everything. You weren't cold. You were terrified. Your heart quivered like a secret begging to be held, and I swear the universe told me not to leave. What I discovered about you today changed everything. Behind your confidence lives a soul starving for love. You pretend you're unshaken, but you're fragile with longing, and now I see you clearer than ever. What I discovered about you today changed everything. You didn't choose distance, you surrendered to fear. Your spirit has been crying for connection, and destiny keeps pushing you back toward me. What I discovered about you today changed everything. You love in shadows, terrified of being seen. But I felt your truth slip through your silence, and the universe whispered that it was meant for me. What I discovered about you today changed everything. Your heartbreak wasn't caused by me. It was shaped by losing yourself. You've been trying to rebuild from pieces no one noticed. And now I want to help you find the rest. What I discovered about you today changed everything. You've been protecting me from the love you fear will consume us. You're scared of the fire, but I feel its warmth. And fate keeps lighting the match anyway.